Good morning. My name is Kenesha Robinson. I am a native Washingtonian, a Ward A resident, a Friendship Tech Prep graduate, and a proud participant in the inaugural cohort of the Office of Unfilled Communications Junior Academy. I have always looked for ways to help out in my community. And when I first heard about the Junior Academy, I was excited to understand how all parts of public safety work together. The Office of Unfilled Communications Junior Academy has given me the chance to learn about how DC 911 operates and works with other public safety agencies to keep residents and visitors in our city safe. It is inspiring to see how hard the call takers and dispatcher work every day and hear how passionate they are about their job and each call they receive. I am excited to continue to partake in the OUC Junior Academy and will be applying for a position at OUC after our upcoming graduation. Thank you, Muriel Bowser and OUC, for offering this opportunity. It's now my pleasure to introduce the mayor, Mayor Bowser.
Thank you. Thank you, Kenesha. Well, good morning, everybody. And I want to thank Kenesha for those remarks and welcome you to our Office of Unified Communication here in the Great Ward 8. And as you can see, we have very, very busy call takers on the floor answering 911 and 311 calls. We wanted to start by highlighting a new program, our OUC Academy, where we are inviting young people interested in serving in district government to join our academy and then go on to become call takers in our Office of Unified Communications. And we want to also tell you about how these are real career pathways, that we are also investing in other opportunities in public safety. For example, in the EMT fields with Chief Conti at MPD and also at Fire and EMS. I am joined today by Deputy Mayor Lindsay Appiah, and she is leading our public safety cluster to focus on how we are filling career opportunities across the sector and filling them with DC residents. You're also going to hear from our new director of the Office on Unified Communications, Director Heather McGaffin. So we wanted to be here at OUC today, not only to talk about our budget investments, but also to highlight the critical work that our OUC call takers do every single day. They take about 3,000 911 calls every day and about 3,100 311 calls every day. I just overheard a call about renewing an inspection. And so last year, 350 employees here at OUC handled 1.3 million 911 calls and 1.6 million 311 calls. They are truly our first responders. Sometimes the calls are less urgent, but still important. If your trash was missed, for example, that might not seem like a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but it's important for residents to be able to report it so that we can get a team back out to them. And sometimes people are calling 911 in what could be the worst, most frightening, most stressful moment in their lives. So we know that when that happens, that the team is going to make sure that we dispatch help quickly. But the human connection is also very important to help people through a crisis. And that could just be calming someone down, or it could be instructing someone on how to do CPR. And that's incredibly important to have that level of expertise and compassion and be able to operate in a very high stress situation. Those are the people that we are looking for to join our team at OUC. So in addition to fielding 911 and 311 calls, OUC manages, maintains, and deploys the district's radio systems. In recent years, we've invested nearly $50 million to ensure streamlined communication between our public safety partners. So in my fiscal 2024 budget, we allocated another $7 million to support the replacement of portable radios for MPD and Fire and EMS, as well as other communications updates, including the construction of a new 4D tower and renovation of the Public Safety Communications Center. There's also $2.5 million in OUC's operating budget for the ongoing support of Next Gen 911, which is the directors would be happy to talk to you about. This funding will support enhanced call routing and upgrades to thwart attacks on our telephone systems. The proposed budget also includes a $400,000 enhancement to upgrade our 911 and 311 hardware. So we've got a great team here, and we're going to keep making sure that they have the tools that they need to deliver for DC. So after remarks and questions, I will join call takers and dispatchers to listen to a few calls. We're also celebrating Ms. Henderson, a 911 call taker who recently helped a resident through an emergency. He appreciated her help so much that he called back to say thank you. And today he gets to say that in person. So with that, I'm going to turn to Director McGaffin, and then we'll hear from a few other speakers.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning, everyone. We're thrilled to have you join us here today to celebrate the vital investments in our agency and the dedicated work of all of our employees. As the new acting director of OUC, I have prioritized a few things, including recruiting, training, and retention of dedicated staff, using the best technology to help streamline emergency responses as well. The critical investments Mayor Bowser has made in our workforce and next-gen technology systems and equipment make it possible for us to carry out our mission as the district's lifeline. In what we are guided by national practices and industry standards, and we are innovative, as we innovate to ensure that all of our programs provide the level of service that district residents deserve. When you call 311 and 911, you should feel confident that you are receiving the most appropriate response in every situation. And when we place focus on these things, it leads us to a safer, stronger Washington, D.C. I'd like to mention briefly that one way we intend to recruit, develop, and retain qualified professionals is through our OUC Junior Academy. And you heard Kenesha talk about her plans to apply for our position here. Our inaugural cohort represents 11 district schools across 4 wards, and we know these numbers will continue to grow. So far in the Academy, participants have been able to be exposed to career opportunities here at OUC in our 911 division, our 311 division, our IT division, and training division. They've also been exposed to our public safety partner agencies, both at BEMS and MPD. My hope is that as we continue to expand our Junior Academy, it will become a pipeline for the district's incredibly bright, eager, and talented young people as they transition into adulthood and join the workforce. As a reminder, in an emergency, please always dial 911. And if you can't for some reason, we support text to 911 24/7. City services can be reached using 311 through calling, texting, a tweet, to @DC311 or via our app or online portal. We process thousands of requests and calls for service every day, and our entire workforce remains committed to assuring we get that right every single time. So I'm going to turn now to one of the great stories here at OUC. Just over a week ago on March 22nd, we received a 911 call from Mr. Moore, who reported that he had found a loved one unconscious and not breathing. In those tense and critical seconds, OUC call taker, Miss Michael Ann, jumped into action. As trained using the TCPR or telecommunicator CPR, she verified the incident location and sent the call to be dispatched to get responders on the way. She then guided Mr. Moore through medical instruction and support and provided CPR instructions. He had called back and told us that she was both compassionate and calm at that moment. So we have both Michael Ann, the call taker, and the caller, Mr. Moore, with us today. And I'm honored to turn to Mr. Moore now so that he can share in his words what happened that day and be reunited with the call taker that walked him through it. Mr. Moore.
Amen. All right. Good morning. My name is Keith Moore, and I am a Ward 1 resident, and I'm also a native of Washington. And I have been for over 60 years, a native of Washington and a Ward 1 native, over 60 years. Okay, so last week I went to my brother's house, and he was unconscious, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a clue. I didn't know what to do, and so I called 911, and in calling 911, Michael Ann was on the other end. Now mind you, my mom passed away not so long ago, and she asked me to take care of my brother, and I told her I would do the best that I can, and that's what I did. So when I called 911, I got Michael Ann on the phone, and this young lady was absolutely supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. All right, I'm telling you, she was unbelievable, and unbelievable in the sense that I was hysterical. Come on, I was nervous. I didn't know what to do. You know, and I'm a grown person, you know, but in that situation from a loved one, I didn't know what to do. And what she added at that time was just unreal, and it brought me here. So I'm just here to say thanks to this beautiful young soul that helped me out like no other. She was super incredible. And I just want to hug her again. Yeah, because she was amazing. And she helped me out, and today my brother is absolutely doing fine. Thanks to the help of this lady right here. That's it for me.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moore.
Amen.
Michael Ann.
Do I move it down? Okay. So first, I would like to thank Mayor Bowser, Director McGaffin, and Mr. Moore for being here today, not only to honor me, but all of the 911 employees that take similar calls every day. When I started working at the Office of Unified Communications 10 months ago, I knew that I wanted to help others. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., and I come to work each day answering calls from members of my own community who need my help. After 6 months of training, both in the classroom and chairside, I was eager and ready to begin answering calls. As residents are calling in their most difficult moments, I hope that they feel confident in and comforted by the voice on the other line, just like Mr. Moore did. There are certain calls that stick with you long after the call is over, and this one was one of them. Although this is a very difficult job, being able to actually meet someone whose life you made a difference in makes it all worth it. As I continue my career at OUC, I hope to continue to make a lasting impact on many more residents and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's very notable to say that Mr. Moore's brother was breathing before the arrival of field responders in MPD and FEMS, thanks to Michael Ann's quick thinking and staying to the script and sticking to what she knows. So for that and for many other reasons, we're going to present her with a Certificate of Excellence for Exemplary Performance. And you're both heroes. So challenge coins for both of you. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Well done, Michael Ann. Well done.
What a great story. And I don't know about you, but I want whatever he had for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Yeah, every day. Your spirit is contagious. Amen. So with that, you can see, as Michael Ann said, she's being recognized today, but the men and women in this room, they're taking calls like this every single day, and we're just grateful to all of them for the work that they're doing. So with that, we'll take a few questions. Yes.
Thanks. Could the director talk a little bit about the intersection of healthcare and 911? Or particularly, I know there's a history of residents at times using 911 for maybe non-emergency medical issues or medical issues that have been exacerbated because they've not maybe gone to the doctor or things like that. Can you talk about that, whether it's an issue for OUC and is DC unique in that?
I'm glad you asked that question, because we've literally been working on it for the 8 years that I've been mayor to make sure that people are getting the right care at the right time with the right equipment. And we know that the number of calls that have come to our center
to 911, they just only go up every single year. And I'll ask the director to talk to you about how many we think are true emergencies and how many others could be diverted to other places. So the investments that we make in our healthcare system help with that, ensuring that our residents stay connected to their health home, and that they are really going to their doctors, that we have urgent care centers and more coming throughout the district are also important. And our work with a nurse triage line here at the Unified Communications Center is also important. But let me turn to Director Gaffin to talk to you about our numbers.
So we have just renewed our commitment to the nurse triage line through DC Fire and EMS, and that is a lot of thanks to Chief Donnelly and to Dr. Holman, who's the medical director. The nurse triage line is there for just that reason, for people who call 911 because they don't know what their other options for healthcare are. And so as we're starting to see longer wait times at hospitals, we are definitely sending more calls to the nurse triage line. And at the nurse triage line, the caller is met with a nurse who can then even connect them further through telehealth with a doctor. And they also can make clinic appointments and provide for transportation. So we have every single person in this room within the last month has taken an updated training with Dr. Holman. He himself came over and led the training with our Office of Professional Standards and Development to try to get those numbers to uptick. And collaboratively, we are working on messaging to our community so that they know that that is an option. And the nurse triage line is just part of one of our many diversion programs that we do here. The other big one is the Department of Behavioral Health, because a mental health emergency is an emergency, but it's not necessarily an emergency for police or fire. It's usually more of an emergency for a clinician. And so we're doing some really great work with the Department of Behavioral Health and Dr. Bowser and her team. And also we are so fortunate to have been selected as a cohort city in 2023 for the Harvard Kennedy School Government Performance Lab. And so we have a technical assistance grant from them, and we work every week to expand that program so that when people call 911, we're not just sending fire and police officers anymore and taxing those resources. We're getting them the right care at the right time. Thank you. Not in front of me, but we can certainly get that to you. I will also always direct you to our website. We're starting to put a lot more data up there. Right now it's in a very aggregated form for fiscal year, but we are really committed and working to make that more of a monthly update so that there's real-time data being provided for those diversion programs as well as for other things that the community is interested in here. Thank you. Hi. Sure. Sure. So thank you. One of the things that happens a lot in our job is that people are really frantic. So we're dealing with a lot of things right up front. We're dealing with somebody who's very frantic. Sometimes we're dealing with somebody who doesn't exactly know where they're at. And so we're trying to get all of this information, calm the person down, and provide life-saving instruction to the caller. So what I can say about this is, yes, we have identified that. We have that call taker and any call taker that makes a mistake in addressing, there is now a very set path forward for them and how we respond to that. And so that includes training, that includes very pinpointed training to whatever the miss was, that includes our trainers, and you'll see them, some of them are out here. We have a trainer now on the floor pretty much around the clock, and we're working to add to that so that if people have questions, they really can feel empowered to ask the trainer. They really feel comfortable with the technology that they're using. the technology that we're seeing in the 911 space is ever changing. And so for us to keep up with that technology is really tough. And so we have, since February, we have increased our training, and every single person on our 911 side has received updated location training as well as updated call taker training. And they have all been sat with for a minimum of 8 hours with a certified trainer so that they could identify individual gaps, and we are working to address those. So when those mistakes are made, we are addressing them, and while we can't always talk about the details of them, while I'm not going to always put the calls out, because those are people's most vulnerable moments when they call 911, you can rest assured that we are reporting those and that we are holding all of our call takers and supervisors accountable for those.
Other questions? Yep. Okay.
Yes. Sure. So after it gets investigated, we look at what the situation was. We look at the facts. And then we also look at, has this happened before? Is there going to be a response to training? And of course, we use the city's progressive disciplinary model because we do fall under that at DCHR. And so the first time we tend to do a retraining, a pinpointed retraining, and then we also do a quality assurance follow-up. So we're paying attention all the time. We're doing a quality assurance check on 2% of our calls, and anything that requires CPR instruction or any sort of pre-arrival instruction. So for childbirth and things like that. If you are not responsive to training, then we identify that, and then it does become a disciplinary action. And we have separated call takers. Unfortunately, that's never our goal. We want to pour into our employees. This is a really stressful job, and we're so grateful for the dedicated people who come to work every day and want to do a great job. But we do sometimes get to a point where we don't have an option, and we do take the actions that we need to take to ensure the safety of the city. Absolutely. Sure. Yes. So yes, and thank you. Sure. So we have 21. If you look up on this board here where it says logged in, we have 21 call takers. Several are on calls. Some people are on their breaks. During the day, we like to keep that number between 20 and 24. In the evenings, we like to keep that between 15 and 17. And we are using overtime, a lot of voluntary overtime. I'm very fortunate and grateful to our employees that we're not in a place where we're having to mandate overtime on a regular basis, but there are some times that we have to do that. And so as far as vacancies, today at 11:38, this is what I know to be 100% true. I have 28 call taker vacancies, I have 11 dispatcher vacancies, and I have 21 customer service representative vacancies on 311. Those, as well as a vacancy for a training specialist, because we just last week we had a vacancy, and also for a 911 operations chief. Our operations chief left to go to another jurisdiction, and I have an interim in that role right now, but a nationwide search is underway for a 911 operations chief. I also, at the beginning of this week, conducted interviews for a deputy director, and that was also a nationwide search. Yes. Fully staffed. We have 82 dispatchers, so I have 11 out of 82, and about 109 call takers. Yes. And all of our supervisors are fully staffed. Sure. So it can take between 6 and 8 months from the time that we have them in the door to the time that they're sitting on their own taking calls. And usually from application to hire, it can take anywhere between 5 and 6 months. So we're looking at a year. So one of the things that I'm really proud of the work we've done in the last couple of weeks is we have created a year-long calendar. And so what we're going to start doing is when we open for vacancies, we are going to bring those people in immediately once they get past the background and the psychological piece. And we're going to bring them in to help answer the admin line phone calls that we get, the 10-digit non-emergency calls, because we take hundreds of those, about 600 of those each day. And that, taxes our staff, right? Because we don't have a separate group of people to do that. And so we're going to bring them in, and they're going to get acclimated to shift work lifestyle, because this is a 12-and-a-half-hour day. And there are a lot of things that kind of play into that, making sure that people can survive that. That's a survival trait, to be able to work 12 hours a day or more. So we're going to bring them in, and then that way, if it's not working out as far as shift work, or it's just more than what they thought it was going to be, they have the opportunity to do something else. And it hasn't cost us thousands and thousands of dollars in training. Because the most heartbreaking thing is when somebody gets through this whole year-long process and the first call they take is so traumatic that they don't ever want to do it again. And so getting people acclimated to this climate and to this job is really important to me. So we've kind of made a shift. And so we're going to start hiring. You should see it go live next week. And as soon as people apply for that job and they're cleared to be hired by our agency, we're going to bring them right on and not wait for the next academy class to start. So the message that you're talking about, you get a cue message that tells you to hold both in English, Spanish, and then you hear the tones for the TTY. In 2021, our average wait time over the whole year was 3 seconds. In 2022, it has jumped to 7 seconds. The number of calls that we are taking are much higher than they were pre-pandemic. The types of calls that we are taking are now requiring us to stay on the phone longer. If someone's calling with a mental health emergency, we're not hanging up. We're not hanging up on callers like Mr. Moore. We're waiting till field responders get on scene with them. And so, and the calls are just a little more complex than they were maybe a year or two ago. What sometimes happens is that you call 911 maybe for a community-based incident, and your neighbors are all calling too, so everybody's in a queue. The one thing that we are doing now, and we started this in July of last year, is we were getting a lot of people hanging up in that queue and trying again. We've really been forward with our public outreach to say, don't do that. You're in a line. You're in a line, and the order that you're in that line, your call will be answered next. When you get out of that line, now you're at the back of the line. It doesn't put you to the front. So it's really important that you stay in. And now we also have an automated callback. So if you hang up, we're going to keep calling you back 3 times until you acknowledge that either you don't need 911 or you acknowledge that you do, and we put you back in the queue. Also, there are instances where you could text us, right? And you don't have to wait in that queue. So if you're driving by and you want to know if we know about the accident at MLK and Malcolm X, you could text us safely, and we can let you know that we know about it, and then you're not in the queue. We get a lot of third-party or passerby calls just to make sure that we know about an incident. And if those folks could text us, that was really helpful, because then the people who are in the call that might be with a patient or really need those instructions will get to a call taker a little quicker.
All right, last question. Michael.
Sure. So the first question, we have separated, but that's all I can say. I can't talk any more about personnel. I don't have a number. As far as the mental health, yes, we have The Department of Behavioral Health has been very helpful. We are connected with the Went Center. They're going to be coming in starting in May and doing a lot of workplace trauma coaching. I'm going to mandate that every employee attend at least the first session of that, and then any sessions after that would be optional. We also provide to all of our call takers and dispatchers, of course, the government EAP, the Employee Assistance Program, and then additionally, we have an app called the Lighthouse, which is an app that's anonymous. They can download it to their personal devices or to their devices at work, and they can not the computers that they're taking calls on, but their government-issued cell phones, and they can connect with other dispatchers across the country. They can connect with wellness coaches, with mental health providers, and that also has a 24-hour assistance line for first responders. Thank you.
I'm the mayor of a big city, and one thing I know about being mayor of a big city, there are always challenges and surprises. And what I learned early on in my first term is that you stick to your agenda, you deal with any challenges, and then the next day you stick to your agenda. Our agenda is unchanged. What I know is that I was elected to a third term because of my experience and my vision for the next 4 years. And that vision includes how we bring our city back from a global pandemic, how we make sure we're catching up our people, including our kids and people who still need to recover from the pandemic, and how we make sure we can continue to invest in the state-of-the-art OUC, state-of-the-art school buildings, parks and recreation centers, and public safety, and all that remains. So we've spent in advance of my swearing in and up to now really focused on big questions related to transition. We are focused on recruiting the best of the best, and we'll see some people go and more people come, and we will continue to do that. And we delivered what I thought was a very responsible budget. I expected that we would see some downturn based on what I was seeing in commercial real estate. But I'm also heartened by how I see parts of our economy coming back. And so we're just going to stay focused on our agenda. Thank you.